My husband secretly got his coworker pregnant, lied for months, while using our money to support her, let me be humiliated by her message, then admitted it was true, and still wants to stay together and have a baby with me. My husband has worked with Kelsey for the last 2 years. Before all of this, I had no reason to feel any type of way about their relationship. It seemed strictly professional. I'd met her briefly once or twice at company events. She seemed polite enough, maybe a bit on the shy side, but nothing that ever raised a red flag. That all changed about 5 months ago, and honestly, I've been feeling more confused, frustrated, and yes, even hurt ever since. It started when my husband found out that Kelsey was pregnant. I remember the day clearly. He came home looking somber, sat me down, and told me that Kelsey, his coworker, had gotten pregnant and the father was out of the picture. He said she was going through a really hard time financially and emotionally, and that he wanted to help her. He asked if he could give her $1,000 to help with her expenses. That caught me off guard. First of all, my husband isn't exactly known for his generosity. He's not cold or anything, but we're not the kind of couple that just hands over large sums of money to acquaintances. He's always been practical to a fault. He'll question me for spending more than $100 on a new coat or a fancy dinner. So, for him to want to give $1,000 to a coworker he only knows professionally, it felt off. Still, I didn't want to seem cold-hearted. I told him I understood the situation and that we could give her something, just not $1,000. I agreed to $250, thinking that would be the end of it. He seemed a little disappointed but accepted it. Then, just a few weeks later, he brought her up again. This time, he said Kelsey was struggling to get some baby essentials and wanted to know if we could buy her a pram. He had already picked one out, a luxury model that cost more than we spent on the stroller for our own niece. I was floored. We had a long discussion about it, and after going back and forth for days, we compromised on a more affordable option. What really rubbed me the wrong way, though, was that he asked Kelsey if the cheaper one would be okay before even finalizing it with me. It felt like her opinion weighed more than mine in a decision that directly involved our finances. By this point, we'd already spent around $500 on her, and I was starting to get uncomfortable. So, I asked him directly, how much more are we planning to do for her? I needed to know where the line was. That's when things escalated. He got defensive, called me selfish, and said he thought I'd be more understanding and supportive of a young mother in need. His words stung. He painted me out to be this unsympathetic person who couldn't find it in her heart to support someone going through a hard time. And the way he spoke about Kelsey, like she was this helpless, noble victim, was starting to sound less like compassion and more like emotional investment. I started wondering why he cared so much. Still, I backed off after our fight. I didn't want to be the villain in the story. Maybe I was being overly sensitive, and maybe he was just trying to be a good person for once. But the pit in my stomach wouldn't go away. It's not just about the money. It's how invested he's become in her. He's constantly checking in on her, asking how she's feeling, what she needs, even texting her late at night when she's not sleeping well. He reassures me it's all just friendly concern, but I can't help but feel like this is more than just generosity. It's bordering on something else. Something emotional. Something intimate. And I hate that I even feel this way. I don't want to be the kind of wife who gets suspicious over kindness. But when kindness starts replacing boundaries, when it chips away at our household budget, and when it begins to matter more than my own comfort in the marriage, I can't pretend it's not a problem anymore. Fast forward to last week. Christmas just passed, and I found out not because my husband told me, but because I found the receipt in his coat pocket that he had bought Kelsey a $150 gift card to Babies R Us. Just like that. We hadn't even agreed on a budget for gifts between the two of us, and yet there he was, quietly dropping a fairly large chunk of money on a coworker. A coworker who already, frankly, has taken up too much of his emotional bandwidth for the last several months. That receipt felt like a slap. It wasn't the dollar amount alone that hurt me. It was the secrecy. It was the pattern. It was the fact that, once again, I was an afterthought in a decision that clearly involved our shared resources. I confronted him about it, and no surprise, we ended up fighting. Again. Same script as every other time this has come up. I told him I didn't understand why he felt compelled to keep giving, and giving to Kelsey. I reminded him we had already spent over $500 on her and the baby, money we didn't really have to spare. And what did I get in return? He said I was selfish, that I lacked compassion, that he was just doing a good deed. He looked me in the eyes and told me he was disappointed that I kept turning something kind and selfless into a threat. And now, he's punishing me with silence, with this exhausting, chilly indifference. He still goes through the motions. He gets up, eats, works, but barely looks at me. Barely speaks unless I say something first. And when he does speak, it's with a tone that's so condescending it feels like being scolded. Not everyone is as stingy as you. I guess you've never really known what it means to help someone. The mental gymnastics I've done trying to rationalize his behavior could qualify me for the Olympic team at this point. I keep wondering if I'm overreacting. If maybe I am being unreasonable. If it's possible he's just trying to be a good guy and I've somehow twisted it in my head. But then I come back to this one nagging thought that won't go away. Why her? Why Kelsey? My husband has never been this generous before. I've known him for 10 years. He's not a bad person, but he's never been the drop hundreds of dollars and run errands on weekends for coworkers type. In fact, I've watched him ignore birthday collections for other colleagues. He's skipped office parties. He doesn't even send holiday cards. So why is this particular woman suddenly an exception? Let's break it down. When Kelsey found out she was pregnant and struggling, he asked me if we could give her $1,000. I agreed to $250, and even that was hard for me to justify. Weeks later, he asked about buying her a pram. The one he originally picked was expensive. We compromised on a cheaper one after a week of back and forth. He even asked her if the second one was okay. Not me. Her. Then came the gift card. $150, without discussion. He spent multiple weekends helping her fix things around her apartment, install baby furniture, even helping her move items. He's gone with her to 2 OB/GYN appointments because she needed a ride. You tell me, am I crazy? The most painful part isn't even the money or the time. It's the fact that he's emotionally checked out of our marriage and doesn't seem to notice or care. He's more emotionally available to Kelsey right now than he has been to me in months. Every time I try to bring this up, it's like I'm talking to a wall. He deflects. He criticizes. He makes me feel like I'm the one with the issue. Like I'm heartless for not supporting a young single mother who's just trying to get by. He won't acknowledge how weird this is. How deeply inappropriate it is for a married man to insert himself into a coworker's life like this. He refuses to see how his behavior might look to someone on the outside, let alone how it feels to me. I'm his wife. We share a home, a life, a future. And yet, when I express concern, I'm treated like I'm trying to sabotage his Good Samaritan routine. I don't think he's cheating, at least not physically. My gut doesn't say that. But emotionally? I don't know anymore. Because what else do you call this level of attention and care and energy being redirected at someone else, consistently, over months? It's like I've been demoted in my own marriage. And even if there is nothing romantic going on, what about the simple fact that he's prioritizing Kelsey's needs over mine, again and again? That he's angry with me for not wanting to empty our savings for a woman I've never met? That every time I try to talk about this in good faith, I'm punished emotionally for daring to question it? I feel abandoned, replaced, gaslit. And yet somehow, I still feel guilty for even saying it. I don't know what to do anymore. I've always trusted my husband, but this whole situation has chipped away at that trust piece by piece. And the saddest part? I don't even think he sees it. He's so busy being the hero for someone else that he's failed to realize he's becoming the villain in our story. A week after everything came to a head, I finally asked the question I had been dreading. I waited until dinner was over, when we were sitting in the living room, pretending, badly, that everything was normal. I turned to him and asked, as calmly as I could, "Are you so involved with Kelsey's pregnancy because you're the father of her child?" He blinked at me like I had slapped him. Then, with that same stone-faced coolness he's been perfecting lately, he said no. Just one word, no. No elaboration, no explanation, just denial. I didn't believe him. Not because he stuttered or looked away, he didn't, but because too much had built up for me to accept such a flimsy answer. Too many little lies, too much money, too many rides to the doctor, too much avoidance when I asked questions. So, I pushed further. I told him that if nothing was going on, he should have no problem introducing me to Kelsey. After all, he had given her hundreds of dollars of our shared money, not to mention countless hours of his time. The least I could ask, as his wife, was to know the person we were supporting. And that's when he got angry. He accused me of being jealous, insecure, controlling. Said I was twisting a good deed into something dirty. He even said I was making this harder than it needed to be, and that I was the one causing problems in our marriage. Not him, not Kelsey, but me. I was stunned. Not because I hadn't heard these words before, but because of how practiced they sounded now. like he'd been rehearsing this speech in his head for months. He told me point blank that he wasn't going to let me interrogate Kelsey, that she didn't deserve to be dragged into our issues, that I needed to work on myself before accusing him of something so disgusting. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding. I kept hearing his voice in my head. You need to work on your jealousy. But how could I not be jealous? No, concerned, when another woman had taken up more emotional space in my marriage than I had for almost a year. So, the next morning, I did what I never wanted to do. I went looking for Kelsey myself. It didn't take long. I found her through a mutual friend's Facebook profile. I wasn't entirely sure it was her at first, but when I saw the photos of her with a newborn baby and scrolled back to her pregnancy bump photos, I knew it had to be her. My hands shook as I typed the message. I introduced myself. I told her who I was. I explained that I wasn't trying to fight. I just needed the truth. I asked as plainly as I could, "Is your baby my husband's?" She didn't respond right away. But later that evening, I got a reply. And it was brutal. She didn't answer my question directly. Instead, she unleashed a torrent of cruelty I wasn't prepared for. She called me old and washed up. Said I should be ashamed for trying to compete with her. Said she was younger, prettier, and able to give my husband something I couldn't. She implied that I had failed him, as a wife, as a woman. She said the baby was his, that he had promised to leave me for her, but just felt bad for me and couldn't do it yet. She told me, in no uncertain terms, to step aside and let him go. Reading that message felt like swallowing broken glass. I sat there, phone in my lap, numb. My ears were ringing. I didn't know if she was telling the truth or just trying to hurt me, but honestly, at that moment, it didn't matter. The fact that she could say those things, and that he had allowed the situation to go on long enough for someone to feel entitled to speak to me like that was enough. I confronted my husband that same night. I couldn't carry the weight of that message alone. Not for one more second. I handed him my phone, told him to read it, and sat in silence while he did. His face went pale. For once, he didn't get defensive, didn't try to twist the narrative into something about my jealousy. He just stood there like he had been caught red-handed because he had. After a long, tense silence, he finally admitted it. Yes, the baby was his. Yes, he had slept with Kelsey. He said it was a mistake. That it wasn't love. That he never meant to hurt me. That he had been trying to do the right thing by her and the baby. The words sounded so hollow. I just kept staring at him, waiting for something, anything, that would make it make sense. He denied the other things Kelsey said. Claimed he never told her that I was old, or that he was going to leave me. Swore up and down that he never trashed me like that she was just being cruel. But the damage was done. She didn't just know about me, she knew details. She knew enough to hit where it would hurt. And then he had the audacity to say he wanted to stay with me, that he wanted us to go to counseling, that we could still have a child together and make it through this. I don't know if he really believes that, or if he's just trying to hold on to whatever is left of the life we built. But in that moment, I couldn't even respond. I felt completely numb. I've always imagined that if something like this happened, I'd scream or cry or throw something, but instead, I felt like I was watching my life unravel from a distance, as though it was happening to someone else. A few days have passed since then, and the numbness has given way to a complicated mess of emotions. Rage, grief, shock, some strange guilt that I can't even explain, like I should have seen this coming or done something differently. Every time I close my eyes, I see that message again. I hear her words. I see the way he avoided the truth for months and gaslit me for questioning it. He says they're not still sleeping together. Says it was over before I ever found out. But how can I believe anything now? How can I rebuild trust when he let me go through months of confusion, making me feel insecure and unreasonable for asking basic questions? The worst part isn't even the cheating. It's the baby. Because if I stayed, if I found it in myself to forgive this massive betrayal, she would still be in our lives. Kelsey, the woman who slept with my husband and then insulted me in the cruelest way possible. I'd have to see her at birthdays, holidays, school events. I'd have to look at that child, his child, and pretend I wasn't devastated. It's too much. He suggested counseling, and maybe if this had just been an affair, I might have said yes. But a child? A living, breathing reminder of what he did and how he hid it? I don't know if I have that kind of strength. I don't know if I want to find out. I've started looking at divorce attorneys. Just to have a plan. I haven't told him yet. I haven't made any final decisions. But I'm preparing. Quietly, steadily. Each day that passes, I feel myself getting closer to walking away. My family and friends have been supportive, almost too supportive. They're furious, disgusted, ready to pack my bags for me. But I'm not quite there yet. I keep thinking about all the years we had before this. The way I used to look at him and feel safe. That version of us feels like a lifetime ago now. A different life, a different woman. I'm trying to give myself the space to grieve before I act. To mourn the marriage I thought I had, and the future I thought we were building. I'm not there yet,